So as I began to think about what I wanted to talk about this week, I was having a kind of a tough time. There was a lot of different things that I feel God has been doing and little snippets that he's been showing me, but not things enough for me to really understand what he's talking about. But there was one area that's kind of been coming back, little bits here and there. And I can't take full credit for this. In fact, one of the things that kind of pushed me over the top in deciding to share about this came from New Covenant Christian School. Their senior, Cassie Wood, shared this with their students this past Wednesday. And it really stuck with me. She talked about this idea of being uprooted. And now I can go into some background and details of why she was talking about this and the theme, how this theme for the school is being rooted and a foundation. But here's what I want you to get out of it. Change happens. And sometimes we are hesitant for the change to happen. And we don't always look forward to change, or when we do look forward to change, we look forward to the change that we feel confident about. But there are times when we get planted in a spot, when we get put in a certain situation where we feel comfortable with, we feel like we've been growing and we've been flourishing and things have been going well. And so we are excited with what God is doing where we are at right at that moment. But then there are times for us to be uprooted. Now, this isn't uprooted like a weed in being cast aside, but uprooted in the fact that when a plant becomes too big for where they are at, sometimes you have to transplant them into a new pot, or take them out of the pot and put them in a garden, or put them in a place where they are going to flourish more or provide for someone else. I remember when my wife and I bought our first house, we were doing some landscaping, and as we were doing some landscaping, we realized, wow, we don't have anything to put in these areas. No places, or we had no plants to put in certain places. And so we had a friend say, hey, I've got some, and they gave us some of the plants. They uprooted some of their plants so that we had some to help decorate the outside of our house. So sometimes we get uprooted in that kind of way, where we need to be in a new place to bloom, or a new place to be able to connect with other people, a new place to grow, and a new place to be the kingdom that God designed us to be a part of. West Lansing right now, we're going through a time of change. We're going through a time where our senior minister is being uprooted and taken to a new spot to do the will that God has for him. And it's hard. That means a lot of things are going to be different at the church. A lot of things are going to be different in my job. And honestly, there's certain parts that I am looking forward to, and others that I don't even know what to think about. And so it's easy for me to just kind of get into this idea of being uncertain and not desiring this change to happen, and almost asking God, why would you do this? Can't we just go back to the way it was? I mean, it felt like things were working well. But if I'm trusting God, and that's a big if in my life at times, it's a purpose that I have to attempt to do. It's a conscious decision I have to make. If I'm going to trust God, I have to allow the change that he wants to happen. And not only that, I have to allow the change that he wants to happen so that other people can be blessed and so that his kingdom can grow. Maybe that's good for me. Maybe that makes my life a little bit harder. And right now it kind of feels like a little bit of both. But I can go into this change and desiring for it to not happen. I can go into this change and kind of regretting what's going on and wondering, God, why would you do this? Or I can go into this change excited for what God is doing in our senior minister's life, excited for the direction that God is taking him, and excited for what he's going to do in the church here, excited for what he's going to do in my life. Sometimes being uprooted creates a little bit of a problem because it makes it so that the plant has to work harder to grow. New roots have to be established. New things have to happen. It takes more energy to regrow those roots as opposed to if they were just there. And then for the place that it was uprooted from, might be an emptiness. Something has to take its place. Some way things have to be rearranged so that the beauty that was there can continue. You don't just leave a big hole in the ground when something is uprooted. And so it's an opportunity for something new to happen, an opportunity for God to do some new things. And so I think that's where I am. That's where I'm kind of sitting at. What does it mean to be uprooted? Trusting that it's okay. Trusting that God's going to do his will and that it's going to be good. Trusting that I'm going to be okay through it all, even when things get hard. And trusting that the final picture is going to be great. A beautiful blend of the kingdom of God, both for the one being uprooted in growing and flourishing in a new place, and for the place where we are already at as we lose one plant and we look to say, God, how do you want to rearrange what you've given us so that we can be a better benefit to the kingdom in our area? So I don't know how you deal with change. Maybe you're okay with it. Maybe you're going through change right now and you're struggling through it. Maybe you are in a time of comfort and things are just good. I just want to leave this encouragement to you. It's okay to be uprooted and taken to a spot in a new place when God is the one that's leading. Ultimately, that has to be our determining factor. God is the one that's leading. And when he uproots someone, we can trust that he is making all things out for the good of his kingdom, and we get to play a part in that.